Thanks for joining us on a Thursday morning. Beautiful day across Kansas City. Just to quickly squeeze this call in to show you that we will be fair to water companies all over Kansas City, I'm going to let Joe get the final word here in Wyandotte County. Real quick, Joe, I don't want to be the guy that's always ragging on the water companies. So what do you got for me?
No, I know water is extremely precious, whether it's the customer or the provider. But BPU in Wyandotte County texted me and let me know that I had a water leak. They obviously either they had a monitoring system or they just saw a higher water bill than normal on usage of my property, and they let me know about it. So if they hadn't let me know about it, I wouldn't have found it for a much longer time. It would have been a much higher bill. I still had to pay it, but at least they did notify me, and that gave me a heads up.
Hey, thank you for that, Joe. I appreciate you, my man. That's good. Just to, listen, and they've got it's not Water One. It's Kansas City Board of Public Utilities there in KCK. But to his point, while no one typically likes the water company, and I just looked it up, the BPU in KCK has a 1.8 rating on Google reviews. Not exactly knocking it out of the park, but let's be honest. You're not going to leave the water company a good review. You never have a reason to. It's just going to be complainers. You're not going to be like,
I was going to say,
hey, they're doing a great job
against them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'll say this much.
Any utility, I would wager.
I don't use Water One. In Olathe, we have public water as well, and I find it to be pretty darn good. I'm not normally a public guy, but based on what I'm hearing from Water One people, I'm not going to complain right now. I'll just say that much. Now, this had me surprisingly bothered when I saw it yesterday. This was a conversation on CBS with Howard Lutnick. He is the U.S. Secretary of Commerce under President Trump. And, the CBS reporter's trying to do all this gotcha stuff. And overall, I thought that his conversation was outstanding. But then came the back end. I want to play some of this for you and tell you why I disagree with what Howard Lutnick was saying about Donald Trump's tax policy. I'm going to start this clip and then get to the back end where the kicker comes in.
It sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me, while we're running a $2 trillion deficit, and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before, are destroying the future for my children and my children's children.
Let's go, Howie. Let's go, brother. That is outstanding. What a disingenuous question from that CBS reporter. Billionaires are playing Russian roulette with people's retirement. Are you kidding me? First off, at least we have people right now who are helping run the government who became billionaires and got rich in the private sector versus all the people on the other side who have no skills, no talent, bring nothing to the free market, get into government, and then magically become super wealthy while they're in office or when they're out of office, when they have created nothing that the marketplace demands. Obama's case in point of that. The guy was a community organizer, becomes president, and now he's got 7 homes and telling you how you got to go buy yourself an EV, but not a Tesla. Mayor Pete, I mean, the list goes on. I'm just scratching the surface. Yes, there are billionaires like Elon Musk who are helping out the government right now and helping out the administration. My goodness, is it the worst thing in the world to have someone who is arguably the most successful businessman of this generation helping clean up the mess that these bureaucrats and worthless members of Congress for the last generation have put us in right now to try to save, yes, our kids and grandkids, if you care about anything beyond the moment today?
I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of $400 billion. Now $2 trillion, everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome. You know, don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this? The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff.
All right, so this is great from Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce. He's on fire. He's killing it. I'm loving everything he's saying. But then he says this, and I'm like, no, Howie, no.
How about we, you and I, and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal. And that's what I'm working for.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Progressive tax rates do not help us come together as Americans and do not put us in a position where we feel like it's one for all for one. What we ideally need is a flat tax where everybody's paying the same, because if you don't do that, you create the system we have of class warfare. And Democrats will always outskill Republicans in the game of class warfare. I want taxes lower for everybody, no matter what. But if you make under this, you will pay no taxes. All you do is set yourself up for a situation where you have class warfare. And that is not good for the country. It's my kind of day in Kansas City. Going to be 75 degrees. You got Big 12 quarterfinal action going on. Oh, my gosh. It has not been like this during the Big 12 tournament probably since the first year I was here in 2018. I vividly remember coming to town for the Big 12 tournament when I was interviewing for this job. And the weather was just like this. It was perfect. Power and light was popping. But the last couple of years, we had like some snow. It's been rainy. It just hasn't been good weather for this tournament the last couple of years. You had the COVID nonsense. So this is the best it's been in 7 years this week in Kansas City. Vivid memory of the 2018, because then I started the show April 2nd of 2018. So we're starting year 8 coming up here in a couple of weeks. And that Saturday before I started the show was the Final Four. And as a Villanova guy, I went down to Power and Light by myself. Kate was not in town yet. And I had a Villanova sweatshirt on with a bunch of KU fans. You may recall, Villanova smoked them. They couldn't miss a three-pointer in that first half, which feels like a lifetime ago with where Villanova basketball's at. And then they won the championship game on Monday night. But I had all my Villanova gear on, and all these KU fans were coming up to me, and they thought I was a K-State fan just screwing with people. They're like, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Who are you? What do you know about Villanova? Where is it? One guy comes up to me. He's got 2 beers in his hand. Where is it? Oh, yeah, tough guy. Tell me where it is. It's in a place called Villanova. That's where it is. Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
Wildcats supporting Wildcats.
Yeah. Oh, man. So I'll be going down tomorrow for the Big 12 tournament, but not going down today. Too much going on.
Might be windy tomorrow. So
yeah, tomorrow's not going to be as good as today. We got that front coming through, but it looks like the severe weather is not going to be in Kansas City. It will be east of here in the St. Louis, eastern Illinois, down into, Tennessee area. So Arkansas, northeast Arkansas, but not going to be here, thankfully. But it is going to be a windy day tomorrow. Wow, I bothered a lot of people with that rant just now, where Howard Lutnick said he wants to figure out a way to have no taxes on people making under $150,000. You can't win the class warfare game as a Republican. You can't do it. Democrats will beat you in the class warfare game. We want to lower taxes for everybody. We've had a progressive tax system, and it hasn't worked out. If there's a flat tax, then everyone's got the same skin in the game. That's what we need. But on the text line, Pete, we got to get rid of the income tax completely. Yeah, sure. In a perfect world, that would be great. You tell me how the math works, and I am absolutely all ears. On the text line, Pete, no new taxes. Go buy something at Walmart or the grocery store. You pay 10%. I know it's combined city and state, but 10% is absurd just to have the privilege to spend your own money. I agree with that. Pete, wrong again. No tax on 100. Wrong again. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Such a nice man.
No tax on $150,000 will allow people to have a life where they may finally prosper. Save the middle class. We had tax rates when we had a robust middle class. The way you keep a robust middle class, the way you allow the middle class to, I believe, prosper, is not by creating a world of haves and have-nots. And also what you do when you have this artificial threshold of tax rates is you encourage people to stay under that rate, right? In a weird way, you're encouraged to produce less. Like, if you could make $160,000 or $149,000 if there were no taxes under 150, what are you doing? It's probably better to make 149. So you get into this weird artificial space that I want no part of. I think it was Ted Cruz back in 2016. I was a big Ted guy back in the day, before he went for the tough guy beard look. And I think he was the one who proposed doing your taxes on a postcard. I know that's never going to happen. Lobbyists won't let it happen. But a guy can dream, right? Get rid of all the loopholes. Get rid of all the write-offs. And just say, whatever you made, whatever it is, 10, 11, 12, 15%. Boom, boom, boom. We're all good.
Boom, boom, boom.
In the meantime, there was a letter to the editor, letter to Roger Marshall that was written here in the Kansas City Star. And this is an important story because it shows you how the media can manipulate things with literally one person. So Roger Marshall does this town hall 2 weekends ago. Kansas U.S. Senator. He's out in Oakley, Kansas, way out in western Kansas, 2 counties over from the Colorado border. And he's doing this town hall. And, of course, he left the town hall early because a bunch of hecklers showed up. And this has been happening for Republicans around the country. And the narrative that then builds through the media is, wow, look at these Republicans. They're getting hammered at every turn. Oh, my gosh, these guys, I'll tell you. These guys in these deep red districts and these deep red states are getting heckled by people because of Elon Musk and Doge. Wow, the tide is turning. No, it's not. It's not. But that happens. They create this narrative. The media then carries their water. Last week on Sunday, KMBC had this report, and they talked to a man who is out in Oakley, Kansas, from Lawrence. Okay, this is not like Oakley's finest here. It's not an OG Oakley, Kansas guy. He's a law professor at KU who showed up in Oakley, came back to Lawrence, and was doing media interviews with KMBC.
One Lawrence man drove 4 hours to be there, says the senator wanted to screen written questions first, which didn't sit well with him.
People were shouting out some questions and arguing with a bit, but it was nothing that I would have thought would have been a problem for any politician or teacher or anybody who works with crowds.
The senator's chief of staff released this statement saying, in part, real Kansans overwhelmingly support the president's Doge initiative and that Senator Marshall is to be commended for staying as long as he did.
So that guy's name is Colin McRoberts. And I'm not knocking KMBC. I mean, whatever. They wanted to find someone who was out there. But this is not like an Oakley guy in deep red Kansas who is fed up with Donald Trump or Doge.
Well, it's one of those notions like Biden. Why don't you just wing him? He's sitting there saying, well, it wouldn't be anything I wouldn't think a public speaker could handle. Yes, it is. When people just barrage and won't shut up,
they're going to walk
you
out.
Ask your question and set your butt down and listen.
There's a concept, right?
Yeah.
So this guy, McRoberts, Colin McRoberts, KU professor, gets a little bit of local news attention. Now he writes an article to the Kansas City Star. Same dude. This is all media attention that is coming from one man in Lawrence that is now driving a media narrative on local television and in the local newspaper of record. Don't worry, I put up my air quotes. And he writes here this headline, Senator Marshall, here's what I wanted to ask you at the Oakley Town Hall you fled from. Tough guy. We got a tough guy alert. All right, there he is. We got him. Okay.
Show some RESPICT.
Or as tough as you can be writing to the star.
I think your testosterone can't be above a certain level to write to the star.
We could get a T and a P test. First dose free, kids.
Soy boy alert. Okay. So, writes here, in the little time you gave us, you insulted us, lied to us, and tried to pit us against one another. I would have been very interested to hear why you split from Jerry Moran, who understands that aid dollars are spent in Kansas to buy food and supplies for our allies. Instead, we got a canned partisan attack on Joe Biden. But you voted against aid, not him. Then he goes into some weird rant on blaming measles outbreaks on illegal immigrants. He rips on RFK. It's just this whole ridiculous
manifesto.
Yeah, manifesto. I was going to call it something that I don't want to say. It would have been FCC compliant, I think, but, kids are in the car. I don't want to do that. Point is, he's just a whiner. He's just a big old baby, or maybe another word that starts with a B. I don't know. You do with that information what you want. But think about how this narrative is driven. One man in Lawrence, Kansas, shows up at a town hall 4 hours away, creating the image that deep red Kansas in Oakley is turning on Roger Marshall and turning on Donald Trump. He gets TV attention. He gets interviews. He writes a 1,000-word cry piece to the Kansas City Star. And they publish it to pursue a narrative that is not real, that does not exist. That's what you're dealing with here. That's how the media can manipulate this stuff to make something appear to be real and try to twist your mind into something that's not actually happening. But it's very clever. It's very creative. And when you connect the dots and you realize this is just the same man out of 3 million people in Kansas, this one guy in Lawrence is the one guy who's suddenly getting all the attention. It's carefully crafted and it's not by accident.